Good morning. Welcome to another Theory Thursday. Today we're going over a concept that was created in ancient Greece. Okay, what is it? The Greek modes: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. Okay, you may have heard about them. You may hate them, or maybe you're curious about them. We're going to go over them today, hopefully to demystify what they are. We're going to talk about two ways that you can find them and create them, and we'll talk about a couple ways you can use them, in what context you can use them or should use them, depending on what you're doing with your musicianship, who you're playing with, what genres you're playing, what kind of music you just like playing. You might not need to use these. However, I do think it's important to learn about them, to know about them, because they do pop up, just so you know what you're talking about when other musicians are talking about it. Okay, so with that said, that's what we're doing today. I got my Timex Black Band Weekender on, and I got my black tie on. This is my newest tie. I've really been enjoying it, actually. And this is my new mug. So look at me, new stuff today. If you've been enjoying these, I have a blast making them. So if you learn stuff from them, please like the videos, subscribe to them, so you're always in the loop on when new videos are coming out. And if you've been enjoying the theory aspect to this channel, I do have a new book out, Beginner Guitar for the Aspiring Musician. Okay, now this is a book for someone who wants to pick up guitar and actually get into it as a musician, not just as a guitar player looking to play around the campfires, which is an admirable pursuit. However, to do that, you don't need to know a lot of the stuff that I like to teach. So that's what the book's about. If you really enjoy the theory concepts and like to know why things work and what's going on behind the curtain of the guitar and the strings and the fretboard and why we do certain things, this is probably the book for you, because it does go in depth on a lot of stuff. So anyway, without further ado, let's go to the whiteboard. Greek modes today. Let's go. Good morning. Welcome back to the whiteboard. Today we're looking at a popular concept, especially in the classical and jazz realms: modes, different musical modes. Now, you may not have even heard about this if you're solely in pop, country, rock, anything like that. But very prevalent and just something you should know about. Not that you need to practice it, something you need to know about in jazz and classical genres. So, what is it? Well, we'll start at the beginning. Ancient Greece. They created the concept, and they actually named the different modes after different regions around Greece. Now, the exact scales and modes and how we play and hear it today is going to be different than how they did it back in the day in ancient Greece, but the concept remains and the names persist as well. So you'll see very Greek names. So to start off, I'm just going to put down a major scale here. We always use C, so let's do something else. Let's do like D. D major, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then we're back to D. And then it repeats and repeats and repeats until infinity. and that's the major scale. So what we have here, if you remember, we have a whole step, we have a whole step, we have a half, we have a whole, and the last is a half to get us back to D. Okay, that's the major scale. It should look pretty familiar at this point. Now, what we're playing here, we call it the major scale. Another way you could name it is Ionian mode. Okay, the major scale is in fact a mode, and this is all going to make sense at the end when you can see it clearly, but every single scale degree also has a mode attached to it. And that's just one way to look at it. So when you're playing a major scale, it doesn't matter what it is, E flat, G, F sharp major, any major scale, you're playing Ionian mode. Okay? Now, use red for this. The next mode, so Ionian, you already know it. You already have it down. Major scale. Okay? Next up is what we would call Dorian mode. Okay? Now, there's two ways to look at this and how to construct, how to play modes. The end result is the exact same, but there's two ways to look at it. Now, Dorian mode, you could look at it as a natural minor scale, but it has a raised sixth degree. Okay? So, just for ease, think about A minor. It doesn't have any sharps or flats in it. Okay? A minor. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you're back to A. That's an A natural minor scale. If I wanted to play a Dorian, okay, you take that scale, the natural minor, and on the sixth degree, the sixth scale degree, which is F, you're going to raise it up a half step. So you get A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And that's what we would call an A Dorian scale. That's the Dorian mode. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. You think, okay, Dorian means raised sixth. Okay, that's the first way to look at it. The second way to look at it, if you just take a major scale like this, each scale degree has a mode attached to it. Okay, so we know if we start on D and we play the major scale and we end on D, we're playing Ionian mode. Let's say we just take this scale, the D major scale, but instead of starting on D, we're going to start on E. Okay, so it's going to go E, don't even look at this, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and then E again. Okay, you play the D major scale, but it's going to be E to E. E to E. Okay? That is an E Dorian scale. All right, so let's think about it. What's an E minor scale? An E natural minor. Well, we know E and G are relatives. Relative major and minor. So, what's the key of G? 1 sharp. It's got F sharp in it. So an E natural minor scale would be E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, just the 1 sharp. So what do we have here? If we start here, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp is a raised sixth, just like we talked about with A, okay? So if you want an easy way to find a Dorian scale, you take a major scale and whatever the second note of that major scale is what Dorian would be. So for an example, let's say I wanted to find D Dorian. So I know D is the second scale degree mode. So in what scale is D the second note? C. Because a C scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's a C. So I know this is a C major scale. This is C Ionian. Okay? If I wanted to play D Dorian, there you go. Boom. D to D using the C scale because it's the second scale degree. It's the second note in the scale. Okay? And this goes on and on. So let's say I took the D scale and I started on F sharp instead. Okay? I went F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, right? So this time we're covering these up and putting them at the end. Okay? What's that called? Phrygian. okay? And it's one of only two scales here that start with a half step. Okay, so whenever you're looking at Egyptian movies, anything in old ancient Egypt, if someone gets a sync deal and they need to make something sound like it's in Egypt, they'll use Phrygian or Locrian, like we'll talk in at the end. Okay, so same concept. Same concept. You just take an F sharp, play a D major scale, start on F sharp, and you get Phrygian. So same thing as we did with D Dorian. Let's say I wanted to play G. Let's say I want to play G Phrygian. Okay, G Phrygian. So in my mind, I know Phrygian is the third scale degree mode. So in what scale is G the third note? E flat. It goes E flat, F, G. So if I played an E flat scale, but go G to G, I would be playing G Phrygian. Okay? So what comes next? Lydian. Fix my handwriting. This is a Y. This is an N. Lydian. Okay? It's the same as starting on the fourth scale degree. G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay? And like all of these, there's two ways to look at it. You can go by scale degree, like we're doing here, where you find what's the fourth note, and then you play the major scale, but starting and ending on the fourth note. Or you can think Lydian. Okay, Lydian is just a major scale, but with a raised fourth. And here's to prove it. What's a G major scale? G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, that's a G major scale, or G Ionian. So what do we have here? If we play a D major scale, but start and end on G, we have G, A, B, C sharp. That's different. D, E, F sharp, G. Okay? The only weird note in here is that C sharp. So a Lydian scale is a major scale, but with a raised fourth. Just like when we were playing Dorian, it's a minor scale with a raised sixth, right? So, two ways to look at it. Okay? What's next? Let me erase this. So that's the fourth scale degree. Fifth is, we have Lydian, then we have Mixo-Lydian. Okay, Lydian, then Mixolydian. Okay, so if we're starting on A, the fifth scale degree, A to A, but we're using the D major scale. Okay, and just like this, there's two ways to look at it. You could think of it as a major scale, but with a lowered seventh scale degree. Because in a regular A major, you have three sharps. You have an F sharp, you have a C sharp, and you have a G sharp. Well, what do we have here? A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, natural G, and A. Right? So you could think of Mixolydian as a major scale with a lowered seventh scale degree. Okay, this is really popular in country, actually. People play it without even realizing it. And yeah, very, very popular in country. In the blues. Yeah, because it's what you would call the dominant scale. Because let's say we're playing a song in the key of D, and then you hit that A dominant 7 chord, which that chord has a lowered seventh in it, has a G. So if you play A Mixolydian, it's going to sound great. It's going to sound like it wants to lead back to D. Ionian. Okay? I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, what comes after Mixolydian? Now, we're on the sixth scale degree, which if you remember, the sixth scale degree is the relative minor. Okay? So we talked about G and E minor earlier. D and B minor are relative majors and minors. What does that mean? It means they use the exact same notes, just starting and stopping on a different note. Okay, we've talked about this before. Now we have a name for it. Aeolian mode. Okay, Aeolian mode is the natural minor mode. Okay, natural minor, just like Ionian is major scale, natural minor scale. Okay, so if you know this, you probably already know this, right? That's two modes you already have down. And what's last? Well, just to go back, Aeolian, you could think of it, it's two ways, right? You can think of, oh, it's a relative to D, or you can think, I'm just playing a D major scale, but I'm going to start on B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. It's a B natural minor scale, okay? The last mode, Locrian, okay? Starting on the 7th scale degree, and look at this, our first interval here is a half step. So just like Phrygian, it's one of the two modes that starts on a half step. Now, this, you don't hear this one a lot. You mostly hear it in metal because of the tones you get out of it, the tritones you get out of it, and the half steps you get out of it, all that crunchy noise. You gotta, and it's, I mean, if you play a D major scale, but you start and end on the C sharp, you'll hear it too. I mean, your ear is gonna want to go, something's really wrong here. You're playing the D major scale, but the whole thing is just shifted that much off, right? It's one note off, right? So you'll hear it, and you'll hear the crunchiness and the instability of it and the uneasiness of it. So that's the Locrian mode. Now, I said this was all ancient Greece, which is very true. They created the concept, but humanity, civilization, took the concept, and throughout the years, especially in medieval, they took these modes and thought, you know what? Dorian, that's really good for getting phlegm out of your nose. And Mixolydian, that's good if you have a cough. And they started putting these modes onto, well, this has this benefit. And if you want this out of your life, listen to this. And if your body's doing this, listen to this. There was a wild time. So, but they all have different feels, and you can definitely hear it when you play it. Like Ionian mode is obviously very different from Aeolian, right? That's the major scale as we know it. And this is the natural minor, right? Happy, sad. That's the easy way to talk about it. Okay, so as far as modes go, scale degrees. Okay? It's as easy as that. If you know all your scales, you'll be able to find all your modes. So if someone said to you, hey, I want to play B Locrian, can you play me a B Locrian scale? All you have to do is think, Locrian, 7th scale degree, so B. In what scale is B the 7th scale degree? C, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, 7th scale degree. So if you just played a C major scale, but start on a B and end on a B, you're playing B Locrian. Okay, so those are the two ways to think about it, and the only time you're ever going to really use them is jazz and classical. A lot of people, I don't per se, a lot of people use them for soloing in jazz, improvisation. It's just not the way I view the fretboard. It's not the way I view improvisation. I think of it more in terms of chord tones, arpeggios, connecting chords, rather than I see this chord, I'm going to play this scale over it. and then you move on. I see this chord. I'm going to play this scale. For some reason in my head, it's really disjointing, and you're not connecting them. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but that's just something I haven't dived into, just because I haven't seen a need to. But knowing the concepts are important because it does get talked about. So anyway, to recap, there's a mode for every scale degree of the major scale, if you want to look at it that way. Or you could memorize, well, Ionian is the major scale. Dorian is a minor scale with a raised 6, right? Lydian is a major scale with a raised 4th, right? There's 2 ways to look at this. So anyway, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Those are your modes. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, obviously go put them in the comments. I love reading them and answering them. So hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.